Africa. The very name evokes a symphony of images, a land of unparalleled diversity and beauty. Majestic landscapes painted with the colors of the setting sun, from the golden dunes of the Sahara to the lush greenery of the Congo Basin. Vibrant cultures pulsating with the rhythm of ancient traditions, where every dance and song tells a story of heritage and pride. A youthful population bursting with energy, talent, and ambition, driving forward with dreams of innovation and change. This is the true face of Africa, a continent brimming with beauty, resilience, and boundless potential, where nature and humanity coexist in harmony. Yet the world is often force-fed a different narrative, one that distorts reality and overshadows the continent's true essence. One that reduces this magnificent continent to images of poverty, conflict, and despair, ignoring the progress and potential that lie within. We are bombarded with pictures of overflowing landfills, portraying Africa as the world's dumping ground, a place of neglect and waste. This skewed perspective, a product of decades of misinformation and prejudice, masks the reality of a continent striving for progress, a continent rich in resources and brimming with innovation, where cities rise and technology flourishes. It's time to shatter these harmful stereotypes, to break the chains of ignorance and see Africa for what it truly is. It's time to look beyond the manufactured images and engage with the authentic narratives of resilience, creativity, and hope that define the African spirit, stories that inspire and uplift. Let's embark on a journey to uncover the hidden truth of Africa, a truth that challenges the dominant narrative and unveils a continent ready to claim its rightful place on the global stage, a beacon of hope and progress for the world to see. The roots of Africa's misrepresentation run deep, entwined with the dark history of colonialism. This misrepresentation has been perpetuated over centuries, shaping perceptions and policies that continue to affect the continent today. European powers, driven by greed and a sense of superiority, descended upon Africa like a plague. They saw the continent as a treasure trove of resources, ripe for exploitation and control. They carved up the continent, disregarding existing borders and cultural identities. The arbitrary lines drawn by colonizers have had lasting impacts, creating divisions that persist to this day. They plundered Africa's wealth, stripping it of its resources and leaving behind a legacy of economic instability. The extraction of minerals, crops, and labor was done with little regard for the well-being of the local populations. But colonialism was more than just physical conquest. It was a systematic effort to reshape African societies and cultures to fit the needs of the colonizers. It was a calculated assault on the African psyche. Colonial powers imposed their languages, religions, and social structures, often erasing or marginalizing indigenous practices and beliefs. Colonial powers, in their quest for dominance, fabricated a narrative of African inferiority. This narrative was spread through education, media, and propaganda, embedding itself deeply in the consciousness of both colonizers and the colonized. They portrayed Africans as primitive, uncivilized, incapable of governing themselves. This portrayal was used to justify their brutal rule and the systematic exploitation of an entire continent. This narrative served to justify their brutal rule and the systematic exploitation of an entire continent. The effects of this dehumanization are still felt today, as many African nations struggle to reclaim their identities and histories. The wounds of colonialism run deep. The physical and psychological scars left by colonial rule are evident in the ongoing struggles faced by many African countries. The artificial borders drawn during the scramble for Africa continue to fuel conflicts. These borders often split ethnic groups and force together communities with little in common, leading to tensions and violence. The economic systems designed to benefit the colonizers have left many African nations struggling to achieve self-sufficiency. The legacy of exploitation has created deep economic disparities and hindered development. And the psychological scars of colonialism, the ingrained sense of inferiority, continue to haunt generations. Overcoming these deep-seated issues requires a concerted effort to reclaim and celebrate African heritage and identity. While the era of direct colonial rule may be over, the struggle for African liberation is far from won. In its place, a more insidious form of control has emerged: neo-colonialism. This new wave of exploitation operates not through brute force, but through the subtle manipulation of economic systems, political institutions, and cultural narratives. African nations find themselves trapped in a web of unfair trade deals, crippling debt burdens, and exploitative resource extraction. Developed nations, often the former colonial powers, dictate the terms of engagement, ensuring their own continued economic dominance. Political interference remains rife, with external actors propping up puppet regimes and undermining democratic processes to further their own agendas. And through a global media landscape that often perpetuates outdated stereotypes, The voices of Africa are silenced, their achievements minimized, and their potential underestimated. One of the most pervasive and damaging narratives peddled about Africa is that of the continent as a dumping ground for the world's waste. Images of mountains of electronic waste, discarded clothing, and plastic debris flood our screens, painting a picture of a continent drowning in refuse. While it's true that Africa faces significant challenges in waste management, the reality is far more nuanced than these images suggest. A significant portion of the waste in Africa is generated locally. Furthermore, much of the imported waste consists of used electronics and clothing, providing affordable goods and supporting local businesses. The refuse dump narrative ignores the agency of African nations and communities. Across the continent, innovative solutions are being implemented to tackle the waste challenge. From grassroots recycling initiatives to technological advancements in waste processing, Africans are taking ownership of the issue and forging a more sustainable path. Gap 3S. Africa is a treasure trove of diverse cultures, rich traditions, and vibrant artistic expressions. From the intricate beadwork of the Maasai to the rhythmic beats of West African drumming, the continent's cultural heritage is as vast as it is varied. African art and culture are not relics of the past, but living, evolving entities that continue to inspire and influence the world. Across the globe, African music, dance, fashion, and visual arts are celebrated and revered. Afrobeat, a genre that originated in Nigeria, has taken the world by storm, influencing global music trends and giving rise to international superstars. African fashion designers are making waves on the global stage, blending traditional aesthetics with contemporary flair to create stunning works of wearable art. But beyond the global recognition, it's the everyday cultural practices that truly define Africa's soul. Festivals, storytelling, and communal gatherings are integral to the social fabric, fostering a sense of unity and belonging. These cultural expressions are not just forms of entertainment, they are powerful tools for education, social cohesion, and economic development. By embracing and promoting African art and culture, we can challenge stereotypes, celebrate diversity, and create a more inclusive world. It's time to recognize and honor the cultural wealth that Africa offers, not just as a source of inspiration, but as a vital component of our shared human heritage. Gap 3S. African literature is experiencing a renaissance, with writers from the continent gaining international acclaim and reshaping the global literary landscape. Authors like Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, Ngugi wa Thiong'o, and Tsitsi Dangarembga are not only telling compelling stories, but also challenging stereotypes and offering new perspectives on African life. Their works delve into complex themes such as identity, colonialism, and gender, providing readers with a deeper understanding of the African experience. These narratives are not confined to the past. They address contemporary issues and envision futures shaped by African voices. Booker Prize winners and nominees from Africa are proving that the continent's literary talent is second to none. African authors are being translated into multiple languages, ensuring their stories reach a wide and diverse audience. Literary festivals across Africa are thriving, creating spaces for writers to connect with readers and each other, fostering a vibrant literary community. But it's not just about the celebrated names. Grassroots initiatives are nurturing young and emerging writers, giving them platforms to share their stories. Online literary magazines, writing workshops, and community reading programs are democratizing literature, making it accessible to all. By celebrating and supporting African literature, we can amplify voices that have long been marginalized, promote cultural understanding, and inspire a new generation of readers and writers. The rise of African literature is a testament to the continent's enduring creativity and resilience, and it is a powerful force for change in the world. Despite the challenges it faces, Africa is a continent on the rise. A wave of innovation is sweeping across the continent, driven by a young, tech-savvy population eager to solve local problems and compete on the global stage. From the bustling tech hubs of Lagos and Nairobi to the burgeoning agricultural enterprises of rural communities, African entrepreneurs are developing groundbreaking solutions in fields like renewable energy, mobile technology, and sustainable agriculture. The world needs to wake up to this reality. Africa is not a continent defined by its problems, but one overflowing with solutions. By investing in African talent, supporting local businesses, and fostering an environment conducive to growth, we can unlock the continent's true potential and create a more equitable and prosperous future for all. The unseen triumphs media's role in obscuring African progress. Why then does the narrative of a broken and destitute Africa persist? One answer lies in the power of media representation. All too often, the global media focuses on stories of conflict, poverty, and disease, reinforcing outdated stereotypes and ignoring the positive developments taking place across the continent. This selective reporting creates a distorted image of Africa, one that obscures the remarkable progress being made in areas like education, healthcare, and economic development. It perpetuates a sense of hopelessness and reinforces the belief that Africa is incapable of solving its own problems. It's time for a media reset. We need to demand more balanced and nuanced reporting on Africa, reporting that highlights not just the challenges, but also the triumphs, the innovations, and the resilience of its people. Navigating the challenges of the digital age. As the world becomes increasingly digital, a new form of colonialism threatens to further marginalize Africa. Digital colonialism. Global tech giants, with their vast resources and control over online platforms, are shaping the digital landscape in Africa, often at the expense of local communities. Data, the lifeblood of the digital economy, is being extracted from Africa without fair compensation. Algorithms, often riddled with biases, perpetuate harmful stereotypes and limit opportunities for African businesses and creators. This digital dominance has real-world consequences, impacting everything from access to information and economic opportunities to freedom of expression and political participation. African nations must assert their digital sovereignty, enacting policies that protect their data, foster local innovation, and ensure that the benefits of the digital revolution are shared equitably. The time has come for Africa to reclaim its narrative, to shed the shackles of externally imposed identities and define its own future on its own terms. This requires a collective effort, a Pan-African movement rooted in unity, self-reliance, and a shared vision for a brighter future. African nations must come together to challenge the systems that perpetuate their marginalization. They must demand fair trade deals, renegotiate crippling debt burdens, and invest in homegrown industries. By harnessing their collective power, they can break free from the cycle of dependency and chart a course towards sustainable development and economic emancipation. But this transformation goes beyond economics. It requires a cultural renaissance, a reclaiming of African identity, and a celebration of the continent's rich history, vibrant cultures, and diverse voices. It's about telling their own stories, in their own words, and sharing their unique perspectives with the world. A call to action, investing in Africa's future, together. The future of Africa is not preordained. It is a future that will be written by Africans themselves through their innovation, resilience, and determination. With the support and solidarity of those who believe in a more just and equitable world. This support is not just financial, but also moral and intellectual. This is not about charity, it's about partnership. It's about mutual respect and shared goals. It's about recognizing that investing in Africa's success is not just the right thing to do, but also a strategic move that benefits everyone involved. But the smart thing to do. A thriving Africa means a thriving world. We must challenge the outdated narratives that hold Africa back. These narratives are often rooted in stereotypes and misconceptions. We must amplify the voices of African innovators, entrepreneurs, and changemakers. Their stories need to be heard and celebrated. We must support businesses that prioritize ethical sourcing, fair wages, and sustainable practices. These businesses are the backbone of a fair economy. And we must hold our leaders accountable for creating a global system that is truly equitable and just. This requires vigilance and active participation. The time for complacency is over. We can no longer afford to sit on the sidelines. The time for action is now. Let's stand with Africa, not just in words but in deeds, not out of pity or obligation, but out of a shared belief in the power of human potential and the promise of a brighter future. But out of a shared belief in the power of human potential and a commitment to building a better future for all. Together, we can make a difference. And a commitment to building a better future for all. Let's invest in Africa's future together.